Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going on a totally incredible microscopic ride-along. We're going to shrink right down to the size of a red blood cell to master the exact step-by-step path of blood flow through the human heart. It's a pretty complex biological pathway, but by the end of our time together, you're going to have this completely mapped out in your mind.
You know how people always tell you to follow your heart? Well, biologically speaking, that advice makes absolutely zero sense. Your heart doesn't have thoughts or feelings. That's all happening up in your brain. Your heart is in reality just a highly efficient mechanical pump. So the only thing you should really follow when it comes to the heart is the path it pumps blood through. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now.
Okay, here's our roadmap for This Explainer. We're breaking this down into 1. The heart's real job, 2. Stage 1, the right side, 3. Stage 2, the lungs, 4. Stage 3, the left side, 5. Stage 4, the delivery, and finally 6. The sounds of the heart.
Starting with part 1, the heart's real job, which is, fundamentally, a mechanical pump.
To pull off this pumping action effectively, the heart is split into 4 distinct chambers, separated by one-way valves to keep blood from ever flowing backward. Now, you've probably seen biology diagrams where half this pump is blue and the other half is red, right? Well, spoiler alert, blood is actually never blue. It just shifts from a darker red when oxygen is low to a much brighter red when oxygen is high. We just use this blue and red color coding to illustrate a really crucial concept. The heart is essentially 2 separate pumps working side by side. The right side handles the low oxygen blood, coded blue, and the left side handles the high oxygen blood, coded red.
Moving on to stage 1, the right side, entering the heart.
Let's trace our red blood cell's journey step by step. It first arrives in the upper chamber, the right atrium. From there, it flows down through the tricuspid valve. Fun fact, this valve is anchored by tiny little attachment points called chordae tendineae, literally heartstrings, which keep it from blowing backwards. Next, the blood enters the lower chamber, the right ventricle. When that ventricle squeezes, boom, it pumps the blood up and out through the pulmonary semilunar valve, sending it straight into the pulmonary artery.
But before we go a single step further, let's lock 2 super important definitions into your memory. In biology, pulmonary means lungs. Anytime you hear that word, you're dealing with the lungs. An artery always, and I mean always, means moving away from the heart. So when our blood cell hits that pulmonary artery, you immediately know it's heading away from the heart on a direct express shuttle straight to the lungs.
Which brings us to stage 2, the lungs, getting oxygen.
Following our checkpoints, the blood travels out through that pulmonary artery, branching off and arriving at the tiny air sacs in the left and right lungs, which are called alveoli. After doing its very important job there, it travels back toward the heart via the pulmonary veins, emptying directly into the left atrium.
And this is exactly why you'll always see the colors in those biology diagrams suddenly flip. While passing through the alveoli in the lungs, our red blood cells are doing cellular respiration. They drop off the carbon dioxide waste they've been carrying, which we then breathe out, and they grab fresh, new oxygen. Because they are now totally rich in oxygen, we flip from blue to red. And in reality, the blood actually turns a much brighter, vibrant shade of crimson.
Stage 3, the left side, the powerful pump.
Newly oxygenated and packed with energy, the blood arrives into the left atrium, drops down through the mitral valve, also known as the bicuspid valve, and fills up the left ventricle. Then, that incredibly powerful left ventricle contracts, blasting the blood up through the aortic semilunar valve and straight into the aorta, which happens to be the absolute largest artery in your entire body.
If you ever look closely at a heart's anatomy, there is a massive structural difference between the 2 sides we just covered. The right ventricle has a relatively thin wall of muscle. Why? Well, because it only has to pump blood a super short distance to the lungs, sitting right next door. But the left ventricle? It requires significantly thicker, heavily built muscle. It literally has to generate enough force to push blood all the way up to your brain, out to your fingertips, and all the way down to your toes. Now, right as that powerful left ventricle pumps blood into the giant aorta, something absolutely vital happens. Tiny vessels called coronary arteries branch off immediately. They wrap around the outside of the heart like a crown, which is actually exactly what the word coronary means. Remember, the heart is a working muscle too, and it needs its own supply of oxygen to keep pumping. These arteries feed the heart muscle itself, and this is so crucial because if one of these tiny coronary arteries gets blocked, the heart tissue is starved of oxygen and starts to die. Unfortunately, that is exactly what causes a heart attack. Stage 4, the delivery, sending oxygen out to the body.
Assuming everything is clear, the grand delivery begins. Shooting through the aorta, the blood branches up through the aortic arch for the upper body or down the descending aorta for the lower body. It reaches the tissue capillaries to drop off oxygen to your cells and gather up the carbon dioxide waste. Now oxygen poor again, it travels back toward the heart through massive veins, the superior vena cava from the top or the inferior vena cava from the bottom, emptying right back into the right atrium. Boom! We have come full circle.
But here is a wildly fascinating mechanical detail to remember about that return trip. The heart pumps blood away with incredible force, but it actually doesn't pump blood back to itself. By the time the blood gets to your veins, the pressure from the heartbeat is practically gone. So how on earth does it fight gravity all the way up from your toes? It relies entirely on smooth muscle lining the outside of your veins, some one-way valves inside those veins, and literally just your body moving around. As you walk, your muscles physically squeeze the blood back up to your right atrium.
Section 6. The sounds of the heart. The classic lub-dub.
Let's look at one final, really surprising fact about the heart's mechanics. We all know the sound of a heartbeat, right? That classic lub-dub, lub-dub. Pretty much everyone assumes that rhythmic thumping is the sound of that thick cardiac muscle squeezing, but it actually isn't. The lub-dub is entirely mechanical. It's the exact sound of those one-way doors we talked about, like the tricuspid, mitral, and semilunar valves, snapping tightly shut to prevent blood from flowing backward. You're literally just listening to perfect biological engineering, keeping your blood moving in one direction.
I really hope this explainer totally demystified this amazing pathway for you. Every single minute of every single day, this microscopic step-by-step journey is happening inside your chest, keeping you alive without you ever having to think about it. So, knowing all this flawless mechanical perfection is happening right now, how will you visualize your own heart's incredible, endless journey the next time you feel it beating? Keep learning, keep visualizing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.